Alright everyone, it's time for Vermont Issues, episode 22, Burlington's Bike Paths, Vermont's sort of answer to the big dig. And it really has been. I can remember back when I was a little kid, we're talking, it must have been at least 15 years ago, I can remember when Burlington, they started building their bike paths within the city, especially on the southern side of the city. And they're like, well, it's fun for people. They bike around. Some people, because the city's compact enough, some people, they commute with their bike. If not, people go a lot of these scenic routes, and they bike around and look at trees, basically. And so they're like, well, we want to extend it. We want to expand it up through parts of the city and so forth. And they managed to work it through South Burlington. But there was always this one location where they wanted to put in a section of bike path, I think, to link several other sections. And it took them so many years of planning. It was like this little weird sort of highway site. And I can't remember exactly which street it would have connected to. But it took them years and years. They kept talking about it. They kept remaking the budget over and over, talking about getting like a grant to get it going, and the land use and the environmental impact studies and everything else under the sun. And they finally got it built, for this relatively small amount of actual infrastructure of no great economic importance. It's sort of like the Amtrak extension they keep trying to build to link up train travel so that people don't have to disembark and re-embark and do all sorts of other bullcrap. Even though that's arguably less important, who rides on trains unless they're doing it for the rustic scenery anyway. It's kind of like biking, I guess, if you're going on a scenic route. But they finally got it made. And now they're talking about the bike lanes in Burlington again, which means you probably have the same friggin' problem. They'll talk about needing to expand this one bike lane and extend that other one up a couple blocks, and we want a new lane through another part of the city of Burlington. We want one to go up through and around Winooski. We want one to go to Essex. We want one to go down to Shelburne, and blah, 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 blah. And the same thing will happen. 10 years later, they'll still probably be bogged down with a budget complaint and an environmental study and a bit more legalese, and this curb is just a foot too far out into the road to build it through here. What are we going to do? We have to conduct a study. That'll take a couple more years. And this homeowner over here, oh, we might have to cut off a half a square foot of their property on the corner, and so we're going to need to do all sorts of stuff legally with them. And that's sort of how it works. And that's sort of a problem in Vermont at large. Like, I can remember, I've mentioned this, the idea of putting a McDonald's over in Woodstock, they froze them out. Here in Rutland, having, any road built, good luck, I suppose. And Burlington's worse. There are plenty of spots in Vermont that are less legalistic and a little bit less authoritarian than Burlington. They're like the seat of authoritarianism within the state. The true, goofies, essentially. And they can't even build a bike path. Like, they can't even repaint a line or extend a lane in order to actually extend one without spending a decade doing so. And so for all of the hype about Burlington wants to be green, Burlington wants to be this and that, bike-friendly, whatever, it takes them so long to actually get these things built, it's like almost pointless. What's the fucking point? What's the point if it's going to take hundreds of thousands of dollars and years and lots of manpower, and you'll have to conduct other studies that'll cost money? Are you going to have to hire 10 lawyers just to build a square foot of tar, basically? That's sort of how Burlington has worked. I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't strangulated the city's economy altogether at this point. You go elsewhere, it's a little bit more easy. Things just sort of remain tame and get built as they need to. Burlington, a little bit of a different issue. So I'm not surprised they're rambling about this again, because they have been. This is not a new thing. Some people who are a little bit younger, they'll think, oh, they're having problems in Burlington with the bike stuff. They've been having problems up there for so long. I can remember it well into my... I don't even think I was in middle school yet, and there was already a crisis over that. Yeah, it's sort of like that other, the Superfund site up there that they had that, I think there used to be like a coal processing factory or something there, and it got all polluted, and they had to shut it, the area off, and it took them years to address the issue, to do anything other than basically fence it off. Now they've still talked about, oh, it needs more cleaning, it's still kind of polluted, and we can't zone it, we can't do anything. That's the way it works up there, very, very legalistic. That's why even though Burlington is really scenic, and it's got a better, like, downtown for shopping, certainly a better mall, ultimately I think I prefer Rutland to Burlington. It's just, I mean, opiate-addled as it is, it still has a better atmosphere than constant look-over-your-shoulder legalism. Like, am I suddenly going to get screwed by somebody over some obscure zoning ordinance or something like that? And the cost is lower here. That always helps. You know, by Vermont standards anyway, it's low. Burlington is rather high even by New England standards, which, you know, would worry the average person. They have to go to South Burlington. And then you go to Shelburne, it's even worse. Now, because that's sort of the commuting upper middle class living there, so the land costs are even higher. That they can't build they can't even paint a bike lane in Burlington without having issues about what they're going to do. Planning is not in their strong suit. I mean, Burlington is relatively sprawling for northern New England. Not just by Vermont standards, but by northern New England standards at large. I mean, I believe it's bigger than Portland. It's closer to the size of something almost like Manchester in New Hampshire, which is a more of a true city, or something like that. It's no Boston, but it's a good city. And they can't build a bike lane. But then again, Boston had this problem with their big dig. It was the same thing on steroids. Of course, they threw a much bigger budget at it. It was much more involved. And in an extremely densely populated inner city area, like a downtown, of course, that comes with its own problems when you're talking about the big dig sort of stuff. But it's the same basic principle. It's Burlington's idea of the big dig, is their bike system. Why don't you just turn everything into Church Street, ban cars like they do in Spain, and have nothing but bikes? Then it'd save, oddly enough, it'd probably save them money in the long term if they were to do that. Then they can say we're true hippies now. That's about all. Peace out.